Well, hello there. It's been a while. It's taken me a lot of effort and bravery to record this video, but I really wanted to do it, so here I am. Also, excuse me about my hair, I just took a shower, so it looks kind of messy. So as this title probably says, I got my first rejection. So I want to talk about it. Let's get straight into it. On April 30th of this year, I made my first submission to a literary magazine ever, and it was to the Oyster River Pages magazine. It's an online magazine that focuses on highlighting the voices of queer writers, LGBTQ plus writers, black writers, people of color. I feel like I'm missing a category there, but I cannot remember. And I don't exactly remember, but I think they don't do like genre focused submissions usually, so that was something that was not in my favor. But well, first I want to explain how I got there. So there's this page that I actually have in my laptop open right now, which is called my camera, which is called New Pages, and they kind of collect a bunch of open calls, open submissions, contests, and the like. So this year I decided that I wanted to really try to submit to a literary magazine because I wanted to get used to rejection. I know that in the writer's path, especially when you want to get published, you're gonna get rejected a lot before you hear a yes. And I have a lot of issues with rejection, so I wanted to get used to it with something smaller first. So I tried a literary magazine. That's how I ended up finding Oyster River Pages. So as I mentioned, they are a literary magazine that's published online, and they focused on highlighting the voices of I forget the word. I don't remember the word. I'm sorry. Like, you know, smaller groups. There's a word for it. There's a word for it. I don't know. Anyways, and so as an LGBTQI plus writer myself, and Mexican writer and stuff, I kind of wanted to try. And so I submitted on April 30. The deadline was May 1st, mind you, so I was kind of on a rush. And yeah, I got rejected. And it's honestly the nicest rejection I've ever received. They gave me some pretty good feedback. They highlighted what they liked about my work, and also gave me really good feedback to make my story stronger. I got the rejection back in May. So it's been, I think, over a month since I got it, but I couldn't bring myself to sit down and kind of record this video until now because I was really nervous about exposing myself in this way, about showing vulnerability in this way. It did not affect me as much as I thought I would, probably because by the time I received the rejection, I was already in a bad space because work was really hard at that time. It still is, to be honest. So also, sorry, my chair is very creaky. So it did not hit me as bad as I thought it would, which I think was nice because it helped me kind of process it better. It still hit me though, of course it did. No one likes getting rejected, so I did get a little bit sad for a time, and I was struggled to write for a little bit. I'm all recovered, I'm writing again, but I hadn't taken a look. Oh my god, my hair. I hadn't taken a look at this short story yet, so we're gonna do that together. So let's change angles and let me show you what they said about my short story. And introduce the short story to you as well. Okay, so here I am now on my laptop, and now you can see my really big headphones because it's the only microphone I have that works. But yeah, so this is new pages where I found the submission call for ORP, and they post submissions and writing contests from independent publishers, literary magazines, creative writing programs, and others. You can like see them here. Submissions, writing contests, contests for young writers. So this is how I found the call for submission for ORP, which is Oyster River Pages, and they kind of focus on um, disseminating the voices of those who need to and must be heard, the centered and marginalized voices. So they mostly focus on um, uh, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, LGBTQIA plus voices, disabled voices, among others. Those are kind of the ones I remember like explicitly mentioned. I don't remember where in the page I saw it, but it was somewhere here. So this is where I submitted, and I submitted it on April 30. So I was one day away from the close. Um, and you had to include like a 60-word bio. Oh, here it is. Black and brown creators, LGBTQ plus creators, creators of all levels of disability. They invite creators to self-identify in their submissions and stuff as well. So I submitted for Emerging Voices Fiction, which was a story of not more than 5,000 words. We had to include word count, full name, pseudonym, or pen name. I actually included my government name and my pseudonym both, because I understood that I had to include both. You didn't have to. That was my bad. Um, and there were others like creative nonfiction, poetry, emerging voices poetry, and visual art. So that's it. We had to submit through this page called Submittable, which is quite nice. Um, and I'm gonna show you in a moment. So the story that I submitted is called The Lightkeeper. The Lightkeeper is a short story about a uh, young woman of indeterminate age, 'cause I didn't really think about it, whose world is basically submitted in darkness because the god who was in charge of lighting the lighthouses is no longer doing it. And there's a reason behind that, of course, but she doesn't understand it at first, and she fights it at first. The story kind of draws from two video games that I loved quite a lot, which are Grease and oh, I forgot the word. It was I have it on my cell phone. 1 second, it's right here. I have it downloaded actually, because I was playing it recently. Monument. Monument Valley, yeah. The full name doesn't appear, sorry. Monument Valley, specifically Monument Valley 3, which is one of my favorite video games I've ever played. And it also draws from my experience going to therapy and kind of growing into the person that I currently am. So, oops, sorry. So with this information, now let me show you what they told me in the submission. Uh, so they're blank because I accidentally submitted with my government name. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to read The Lightkeeper. While we were going to pass on publishing it, we were impressed with some of its qualities. Specifically, the prose was strong and well written, facilitating the reading experience. We also enjoyed the imaginative plot and the intrigue set from the beginning. However, we felt the story could benefit from more clarity. More background story was required for readers to connect to it. On page 4, a lighthouse keeper was mentioned. Were there lighthouse keepers before? Where had they disappeared to? We would suggest clarifying this plot point. Or maybe, did the lightkeeper light every lighthouse before? Why did they suddenly stop? Why did the lightkeeper choose Maeda? What was she doing on a boat that crashed that night? Giving more details to the plot would allow readers to invest in the story and stimulate engagement. We hope this feedback will be of use in your writing journey. It should also be noted that ORP rarely publishes genre-based stories. You may find another journal feels differently about this piece. Sincerely, the editors. So, as you say, very kind reply, very good feedback in my opinion. I do think, I'm pretty sure these questions were answered in the story, but maybe they weren't, and maybe I'm imagining it, and maybe I actually forgot to put those details in. I don't know. I feel like my editor, because I had one friend edit the story for me and give me feedback, I feel like he would have noticed, but I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. So, anyways, let's go to the story now. Let's look at it piece by piece and see where we can fix it. Because my plan from now on is that I'm gonna edit this story again. I'm gonna use the feedback given to me by the editors at Oyster River Pages to improve on it, and I'm gonna try to submit it once more. I'm only going to do it once more because I don't want to get stuck in the same story trying to publish it over and over again. I'm gonna do it once more and then I'm gonna move on to the next short story to keep trying. Anyways, let's see. Okay, I had to change the camera angle because I realized I didn't want you to see all the story. Oh my god, my hair. I'm so sorry. I didn't want you to see all the story until it was either published formally on a magazine or just posted on my blog, maybe. I don't know. So I'm gonna read you the start of it first so you can get an idea, and then we're gonna go question by question. So I already preemptively reread my story and marked down where I think the editors found the like issue, or they thought their questions fit best. So let's see. The water surrounding and pulling Myra deeper was cold and dark. She couldn't tell up from down, so she stopped fighting the current. Then she was pulled out of the depths and thrown onto the deck of the small sailboat. She coughed and gasped for air as her lungs did their best to eject the water she had swallowed. When she could finally breathe, her face was red and her eyes full of tears. The last thing she remembered was trying to find her way home in the dark. Then the boat capsized, the waves taking everything with them. So that's where it starts, and that last line is where I think that they were like, what was she doing on a boat that crashed that night? And I thought I had explained this because I remember writing it, and a little bit later, she is talking with the Lightkeeper who just saved her, and she only says, my boat crashed. But she doesn't explain why she was out. So I was certain I had added that detail in, but I turns out I didn't. So I'm gonna add it in right now, and I'm actually gonna add it a little bit later rather than right at the beginning, so that it flows. I think it will flow a little bit better. So a little bit later, like literally just a few lines later, she says, "You saved me." "That I did," the Lightkeeper nodded. "Tell me, why were you down there?" So I think that's the perfect moment for her to explain why she was out in the middle of the ocean on her little boat. I feel like this angle is a bit weird, but I don't want you to see my bed. Where she was out in the ocean in the middle of the night. So she says, "My boat crashed," she explained. So I'm gonna add, before she says my boat crashed, I'm gonna do something like, actually, why was she out? Good question. You know what? They were right for asking the question. I don't know why she was out either. I remember I had an idea. Because I remember thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna add this to like fill in why she was out. Because actually, I'm pretty sure my editor also asked me this question, and I think I just straight up forgot to add it. So let's see. Okay, I think about it. So Maeda as a character is meant to be this kind of very strong-headed, independent character. It's not mentioned in the story because it's not relevant, but she is an eldest daughter, and her family, when I was making up her family, it was mostly just her mother, her, and then a younger sibling. The gender of the sibling doesn't really matter for the purposes of the story. So I visualize that the reason why she would be out so late at night is because she was getting something for her family, something like food. So I added, tell me why you were down there. I was bringing food back for my family, but my boat crashed. Now, this could be interpreted in a series of ways, and to me, it doesn't really matter in which way it is interpreted. She maybe was out fishing, she was trading with people from the other isles, because I don't think I mentioned this, but Mayra lives in this part of the land called the Gleaming Isles. So it's a bunch of little islands, all sort of bunched up together, and they usually move from one island to the other by boat. And so she maybe was like fishing, or she was out trading in another isle for food or something. But the point is that she was on the boat going back to her home isle, home island, homeland, I don't know. And it feels like this would be right. It feels right with her character that she will be sort of a provider for her family, because she's this very like strong-headed, very independent, but also protective character, as we kind of see later on in the story. So I think that answers the question, what was she doing on a boat that night when it crashed? It crashed because she couldn't see. She missed the cliffside of one of the islands and she crashed onto it. I think later in the story it's mentioned that a storm is coming, so it was even darker than night because not even the stars were visible. So yeah, it's the little details. I don't feel like I need to add a lot for this question. Now, the second very important question that we get is, why did the Lightkeeper choose Myra? And, well, it's not a matter of choosing. It is mentioned somewhere in the story that the Lightkeeper just happened to be passing by when Myra fell into the water, and they rescued her. It's not so much that the Lightkeeper chose her, or she's like a chosen one character, because the story is really not about being a chosen one type of character. It's more so that they saved her and then realized that she had the right, I guess, personality or attributes that would allow her to finally break free from this cycle of avoiding responsibilities, because she is this very like strong-headed person. Because one of the main things about the Gleaming Isles is that there used to be a lot of gods in the past, a lot of deities, and then they all disappeared, and the last one is the Lightkeeper. But deities disappear because they are there to teach the humans how to do things by themselves, and after they've taught them and the humans have learned, they're supposed to leave. That's the natural cycle of these divine beings. But the people of the Gleaming Isles started getting nervous because their deities kept leaving, kept abandoning them in their perception, and so they stopped learning and they stopped trying in order to keep those or to keep people like the Lightkeeper in their lives, because they were scared of being left alone. So it's not so much that the Lightkeeper chooses Mayra as like a chosen one character, but I guess she chooses her because they choose her because they see something in her that might be capable of finally breaking away from that cycle of dependency on the deities. So the Lightkeeper pulls Mayra out of the water, and says, "It's okay, child," a soft melodious voice assured her. "You're safe." In front of Maeda was a god, the last deity of the Gleaming Isles. She knew who they were, the Lightkeeper. She sat up, her eyes trying to focus on the shining divinity, now rowing the boat that carried them both. It was hard to tell, but they did have a vaguely human form behind the warm yellow glow. "You saved me," she said. That I did, the Lightkeeper nodded, so that's part of what I read before. So I'm thinking that in order to clarify this question of why did the Lightkeeper choose Maeda, I'm actually gonna add something towards the end of the story, because I think it's a little detail that could fit really well with the part of or with how the story ends. And it's something along, well, I already explained to you the personality part, but I think the Lightkeeper, it's very easy for me to fit towards the end a dialogue that goes something like, "Why me?" Maeda asked, and then the Lightkeeper says something like, because I know you can do it, or because I have faith that you can do it, something like that. It's not, because in the end there's nothing special about Maeda that would make her more capable than others. Everyone is capable of doing what happens in the story. It's more so that it's not a term of like ability or capability, it's just a matter of it was the right moment and the right person to do the job in this situation, which I think a lot of life sometimes is just right moment, right time, or right person, right time, wrong person, wrong time, wrong person, right time, etc., right? It's kind of hard to like really pinpoint how these things work, but anyways, I'm gonna add that in. Okay, I think I've managed to include that exchange without it seeming out of place or like just like very on your face. But I don't know, it's really hard. I've noticed that with short stories it's kind of hard, especially if you have like a very specific word limit. Like for example, the word limit for this is 5,000 words and my story is already 3,000 words. I still have room to add things, but it can be very hard to put things without sounding too obvious or in your face, and also respecting the time limit. It was a nice challenge, I will say though. So I think I've managed to add it, and now the final thing that I need to focus on is the last comment that says, on page 4 a lighthouse keeper was mentioned. Were there lighthouse keepers before? Where had they disappeared to? We would suggest clarifying this plot point. Or maybe did the lightkeeper light every lighthouse before? Why did they suddenly stop? So I think, I'm pretty sure it is mentioned, and I'm sure I can find it in a moment. It is mentioned that the light keeper was the one taking care of all the lighthouses, and they themselves explained that they stopped doing it because they realized that the more they did it, the less the people of the Gleaming Isles wanted to learn how to do the task. And also they explained that it is because they were getting tired, and it was not what they were meant to be doing. Like, they weren't there to do the job for the people, but to teach the people how to do the job. I do mention the word Lightkeeper at one point, and it's when the Lightkeeper, Lighthouse Keeper at one point, and it's when the Lightkeeper is explaining to Maeda how the lighthouse works and how to tend to the fire and how to keep it alight. So it says, there should be a fire still around here. Check in that chest over there. The Lightkeeper pointed towards the chest by the exit of the room, and Maeda looked inside. She handed the fire still to the deity. Thank you, child. Now, ideally, the lighthouse keeper would arrive with a torch already on, but if not, doing this is safer than directly lighting the brazier. Is that how you pronounce that word? I don't know. So I say lighthouse keeper. Now, ideally, the lighthouse keeper would arrive with a torch already on. There are no lighthouse keepers. That's the problem. The problem is that no one wants to learn to be a lighthouse keeper because they don't want the lightkeeper to leave. So I think that the problem is that the phrasing of this sentence makes it sound like there was a lighthouse keeper before and there isn't one now, but there has never been one. So I'm gonna change the phrasing of this a little bit, but I wanted to find the place where they explain this, where they explain, like, I'm not supposed to be here to do this for you, but I'm supposed to teach you. So there's a couple of, like, it's kind of divided in sentences, but it says, the Lightkeeper sighed. What do you think we are, us deities? Well, deities? Maeda said, unsure where the question was meant to go. All-powerful beings? I don't know. We're teachers, the Lightkeeper supplied. We are indeed very powerful beings, but above all else, we are teachers. We appear when there is something new to teach you, and leave once you have learned to do it on your own. So that's the Lightkeeper explaining that deities are not supposed to just be there doing the work for people. They're just teach and go, goodbye. You can do this on your own now. You're a grown child. Then there's another part here. The tower felt so empty as they exited it, and she realized that once they left, no one would be there to tend to the fire. There were a dozen small lighthouses littered all throughout the Gleaming Isles, and the Lightkeeper had been lighting them up one by one, all by themselves. It was no wonder that they couldn't stay all lit at the same time. There should have been more people to guard the fires. So here's, like, there's no lighthouse keepers, the Lightkeeper is doing the work by themselves. So that part, I think, is explained well enough. Yeah, because then Maeda says, are you still here because we haven't learned? Maeda asked after a little while, still thinking of the empty lighthouses. Because you refused to. The Lightkeeper leveled her with a pointed look. So I think that part itself is well explained enough. But I do think that the mention of the lighthouse keeper is a bit confusing. So I'm gonna change that part of the story. Just that little dialogue that I think created some confusion. And then I'll be done. I think. I don't know what else I could edit. I think I'm gonna probably send this story to a couple more friends so they can take a look at it and tell me what they think. Because pretty few people have read the final version that I sent to the magazine. In fact, it was only one person. So I think it would be nice to have a little bit of more feedback from more of my friends. So I'm gonna do that last correction, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about how I feel after this exercise. Let's see. Okay, we're back with this slightly less awkward angle, and honestly, I feel better than I thought I would. When I received the rejection, again, I was like a little bit sad, a little bit down. That's normal. And I was scared to film this video because I was afraid that I was gonna struggle with it and that I was gonna struggle to make those corrections. In the past, I used to struggle a lot with like feedback and critique, but I think I've definitely gotten a lot better about that now. So I feel quite good, honestly. I'm happy with the changes I've made, even though they're very small. I don't know if they're the correct changes, but I guess we'll see. I'm gonna try to submit it again to a different magazine, and we'll see how that goes. Maybe it gets published, maybe it doesn't. If it does, you'll know. I'll let you know. If it doesn't, you'll also know, because I'll let you know again, and I'll probably post it. I've been thinking of making like a sort of digital portfolio to post any stories that like get rejected or that I write but I have no intention to submit. Yeah, anyways, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send this draft of the Lightkeeper to a couple of friends, ask for their feedback, and we'll see how it goes. Anyways, I must say that filming this, I feel very relieved. I feel very happy that I finally got this video done, because I've been wanting to do it for like a month, and I just couldn't get the bravery, the strength to do it, I guess. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful to you or something, I don't know. And well, let me know. What do you think? Have you ever tried getting yourself published in a literary magazine? How was that experience like? I'd love to read your comments about that. Anyways, see you on the next video, everyone, in which we're actually gonna start finally working on video, because I've been working on it by myself, but we're gonna be working on video on my first novel, Project Moonlight. See you on the next video. Bye bye.